Post on Clarity is back, and we have another special guest this week. So we have Kaitlyn Maus with us.
How's it going?
Kaitlyn, welcome. Thanks for doing this with us. This should be a fun one.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've known Kaitlyn for a little bit now through the River's Edge stuff, and this is Ben's first time saying hi.
But I was just telling her I've followed her for a while, and I'm like a little kid right now. So it's cool for me to see somebody I've watched for like 3 or 4 years and get to actually talk to them.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I like meeting people, so this is cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, sweet.
So we're going to start off with just a couple questions that I like to ask all of our guests. And one is, what age did you start hunting, and who, if anybody, was the one to teach you how to hunt?
So my dad is who got me into it. He's hunted his whole life, and pretty much my whole family is a bunch of hunters. But my dad took me out pretty much since I was like able to walk. I remember like my first hunting memory, and I'll have to find a picture, but I was so small that he couldn't like find a lot of like camo and like hunter orange for me because it was rifle season. And so he would put me in one of my Halloween costumes, which was a pumpkin. And I literally had a pumpkin like suit on with like the face and everything. And that was like my first like vivid memory. I don't even know how old I was, but I was so small. But my first deer that I actually shot, I was 12.
Okay, nice.
So were you like, I feel like there's mixed, like a lot of people that grew up hunting, some of them grew up loving it, some of them grew up and they just go because that's what their family did every year. Were you like passionate about it from the start, or was it not until you got older that you kind of got the love for it?
You know, I actually, it kind of went like this for me because when I was young, like growing up in Pennsylvania, like we would go whole seasons and maybe see a buck. Like, and if you saw a buck, it was like, you're shooting that deer, doesn't matter. Like, ground it's down mentality. And so, like, we hunted very hard. But to be fair, rifle season was only 2 weeks. So, like, that was like, you had to make it happen in 2 weeks. But I just loved going out and like being in the woods. And like, I didn't care if we got something or even if it was just a doe. Like, I was excited for my dad. And then my first year, I shot and I think I spined her and she didn't die right away. And so, like, that was a little bit traumatic for me because I was like, you know, like I never had an experience like that. So then I shot my doe in the morning and then my dad's like, come on, you still have a buck tag. Like, let's go. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like you go hunt, you know, and I took a nap in the truck and I don't even know how long it was, but I was like passed out and he comes back and he's like, starts tapping on the window and he's like, here, get out. Like, I want to show you something. And I was like, what? And he goes, I got a buck. And my dad, if you know my dad, he is like the biggest like jokester. Like he loves to pull pranks and like just mess around. So I'm like not believing him. I'm like, you didn't get a buck. He's like, no, come on, get out. And I'm like, stop messing with me. Like I'm upset. I'm tired, you know. And he's like, get out here. And so I get out and sure enough, there was a buck in the back with my doe. And he's like, see, if you would have went with me, you would have had it. And I was like, oh. You know, like, and that was kind of like, all right, maybe I do want to go back out. So I just kind of kept going with it, but I really didn't have a like true appreciation for it until I started going by myself, I would say, and really just having to like learn it and figure it out because it was more than just shooting something at that point. Like I was, you know, learning and just kind of, you know, figuring it out. So that's like the long-winded version of that, I guess. But yeah.
I had an experience somewhat similar to that for my second deer that I shot, which Ben, I don't know if I ever told you the story. This one's kind of messed up. So Ben seems to think I always have a bunch of crazy stories, and this is another one of those. So my second archery buck, which is just weird how Ben and I are connected. I didn't know this at the time, but it was on a property that neighbors, a close family member of Ben. And I was up in the tree and I had a fork buck walk out. And it was right below me. I mean, I was 20 feet up in the tree and it's like a 5-yard shot. And I spined that deer. And it was one of those where it's back legs drop, but it's still trying to walk on its front legs. And I didn't know what to do other than I'm like, oh crap, I feel bad. So I had to climb down out of my tree stand and try and go shoot this thing again. So I climbed down out of the tree stand. I get to like 5 yards and I think I was 13 years old, which obviously like, you know, you don't know really what you're doing. So I get to like 5 yards and like I drew back my bow. I don't even think I aimed. I just like pulled the trigger and I missed. And I'm like losing it because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden I hear like loud thuds on the ground. and I look over and there's two dudes charging down the hill at me, which it was my uncle and a buddy. And I had like, this will make sense in a couple seconds. My uncle has a knife in his hand, a buck knife, and the other guy has a maul in his hand. And they they ran by me and they finished the deer off for me. And as soon as that was over, like they're like shaking my hand, hugging me, like, dude, congrats. Like, so apparently they were actually below me because it was over a big ag field. And like a couple hundred yards away, they were in a truck glassing that night. And they were checking up in the food plot that I was in. They didn't know I was there hunting because my dad was in a stand not crazy far away, and I didn't have a phone at the time. And they were like looking at this fork buck in the food plot, and then they looked up in the tree and they're like, hey, there's somebody up in the tree. And they're like, oh, that's Gabe. Oh, he's drawn back. And like they watched me shoot that deer. They watched me spine it. And I guess when they saw that, they literally whipped around, drove all the way up there as fast as they could. So crazy. Another one of those, crazy experiences, but I've definitely done that before. So sorry, Ben, you were trying to say something before I went on a tangent.
No, you're good. I honestly don't remember what it was at this point. Kaitlyn, I was going to ask, so you talked about rifle hunting mostly through that. Did you grow up bow hunting too, or where did that start to come into play?
No, my 14th birthday, I think my dad bought me a crossbow because that was the first year that they were like legal as archery in Pennsylvania. But my dad never bow hunted and he didn't really know how to do it or understand it. So I think the crossbow was like the transition of rifle to archery. And then it just gave us more time in the woods throughout the year versus like the 2-week rifle season. So him and I like kind of learned how to like archery hunt together. Like neither of us knew what we were doing. And I mean, we had like, it was mostly public land, but like my cousin's a farmer. So we did have some private access and we kind of honestly hunted very similar to rifle. Like we were just on the ground. Like I don't think I ever climbed in a tree till college. Like that's just not what we did. So it was very like entry level. And so we really did have to kind of learn it. And once I was 16, I was allowed to go by myself. So then I started doing that here and there, or like my dad and I would go together, but then we'd sit in different spots and just try to up our odds of getting something. So yeah, I didn't really bow hunt until I think maybe my senior year or like right after that is when I got a compound. And so kind of slowly graduated, I guess.
Yeah, cool.
So what do you think was the hardest part about learning how to bow hunt when you were getting started, right? Like if you didn't have, I guess I learned a little bit because my dad bow hunted, my uncles bow hunted, so they taught me how to shoot. They kind of, filled me in on like, it's not like a rifle, right? You're trying to get a deer within 30 yards. So for you, what was that like knowing that you didn't really have a teacher?
I mean, it was hard. It was hard in like a lot of ways because like I just had to learn how to like actually shoot and be good with it. And then I also still had to learn almost how to just generally deer hunt because when we were rifle hunting, you could shoot one at 200 yards. You didn't have to worry about wind so much or moving. So like I think just learning how to be like savvy in the woods was probably like the biggest thing. And then obviously when you do get an opportunity, making the shot count, which for a long time I had target panic and like I wouldn't say I was ever the best shot, but that's just part of like just practicing and the more deer you shoot, I would say the better you get at it. So in the beginning I was just all around probably very terrible, but that was just like my only option because I didn't have a teacher, right?
Sure.
So yeah.
Just a long line of rifle hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I knew anybody that bow hunted. Like maybe one or two kids at my school. I know one of my friends had a crossbow, but like I couldn't tell you anybody that had a compound bow like back then. So that was also kind of interesting. Like I think obviously more people bow hunt now, but back then it was just like rifle season was deer season,
Looking back, what do you feel like were, like, I don't know, maybe top 2 or 3 mistakes you made that could have been easily avoided? Do you feel like?
I would say off the bat, like, truthfully, the biggest mistake was passing deer when I shouldn't have been at the beginning. I think, especially because, like, when I moved to the Midwest, I had this idea in my head of, like, big deer. And I think I should have just shot more deer just to kind of get a few under my belt and get that experience sooner than what I did, because as hunters, we know that there's just so many things that can happen, go wrong, go right, like variables. And so, like, I think just not shooting at deer kind of held me back from like getting that experience sooner than what I probably should have.
It's funny that you
So I'd say
say
that's
that.
probably the biggest thing.
It's funny you say that too, because as we've like had some people on over the past few weeks and stuff. I don't know if you know who Renee Flatland is, but we just had her on not that long ago. And then,
I've heard of her.
yeah, and then Justin Edwards from Servicide was just on, and we asked them the same question, and everybody has said that as at least part of
Yeah.
their answer. Like, we wish we would have killed more deer when we were younger. And there's just nothing, like, you really learn as you get older and more experienced. Like, you can only get good at killing deer by killing deer. Like, you can
Right.
learn a lot about getting in front of deer from, watching content, educating yourself, but you have to do it to get good at killing deer.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, even like in Pennsylvania, had I stayed there, I think I probably would have obviously been less picky and shot more deer, but like I just had this idea in my head because growing up watching Drurys and the Lakoskis and everything, you
Yeah.
just have this like image of I was realistic knowing I wasn't going to shoot a 200-inch deer, but like just something bigger than what I would have seen in Pennsylvania. And I don't know, I just think I kind of overhyped it for myself and I should have just, anything that was bigger than what I would have seen, I should have shot it, So
Yeah.
you live and learn.
Yep. Yep.
So, what is something that you think experienced hunters assume that everybody knows, but most new hunters actually have no idea about it? Like something that's almost generalized where people that have been hunting the same way or with enough experience as you or me or Ben, might just write off and be like, oh, everybody knows that.
Oh my gosh, there could be so many things I feel like. I don't know. I took a girl this year. Well, I say a girl. She's a few years older than me, but I took her turkey hunting for she got her first turkey with me. And I think because I'm in the woods so much, I almost take like just going through the motions for granted. And I don't always like slow down and appreciate like the process as much as I used to because like I think she told me she was turkey hunting for like 7 years and just like could not figure it out. And she actually came up to me at the Iowa Deer Classic and was like, "Can you give me tips on how to turkey hunt?" And I was like, "Well, where do you live?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm not far from you." So we got talking. I was like, "Just come with me because I don't really think that's something I can explain to you without like actually showing you." So anyway, we had two like amazing turkey days and she finally shot one and just like her raw excitement and like she didn't know anything. Like I had to explain like the different sounds that they make and what they mean and like, you know, just little things that we just now know, like she just had no idea. So it was actually really cool for me to like almost relive like the early days like through her and like seeing it through somebody else's eyes. But as far as like something specific, that's so tough because I feel like you could name a million things, So I don't know, maybe just like the process of like going through it and I don't know, just appreciating it.
Actually, what you said sparked up what I think would be my answer to that question, and that's deer body language, right? Like
Oh yeah.
if all three of us were on a hunt together and we,
Yep.
saw a deer come in and it started doing like the head bob thing, all of us would be like, okay, that deer's on alert, right? But like if you're a brand new hunter, you're like, okay, cool, the deer's doing this thing, with its
Yeah.
head, or like you can tell when they're comfortable and you're watching their tail flick, and they're licking their nose that they're trying to keep, smelling things. Like I guess that's something I never
Yeah.
really even thought about till I just now.
I guess maybe I would say like details like that. Like body language
Yeah.
is a detail that we just automatically read it, but somebody who's new, like she didn't know when to shoot. I had to be like, okay, we're gonna wait till he puts his head up, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I don't know, they obviously
Yeah.
need to learn that still.
Behavior in general, I feel like when I moved to Cincinnati, most of my I don't really know anybody here that does hunt. I've met one guy that kills some pretty big deer, but everybody
Weird.
asks me like to do stuff from, October 20th to November 20th, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not hanging out. Like if I have free
Yeah.
time, I'm gonna be in the woods. Like, and they're like, why? Like, why is that time of year so important? And you got to sit down and explain it to them. It's like, well, the does start to go into heat and the bucks haven't had
Right.
any action all year, and you got to explain it to them like they're 5 and
Yeah, it's the birds and the
Yeah.
bees and the deer.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, your parents sat you down and probably
All
talked to
right.
you about this, like, but no,
Yes.
it is like crazy as hunters how much we just like know that you kind of forget people just don't know that. I mean, I guess that's the
Oh,
same
yeah.
with anything, but
Yes. I would agree for sure.
Well, and I think that's transferring into the, Ben and I like to just talk about the newer generation of hunters because, that was us about 10, 15 years ago. And, you'd fall into this category too. We're past that. We're not necessarily the new generation of hunters. There's people out there now that every year, statistically, it keeps getting less and less and less. Even though if you hunt public, it feels like there's more people hunting than there has ever been before, but that's due to, loss of access and
Right.
not having permission and family farms going away and stuff. But do you think hunting is difficult to get into for someone who doesn't have a mentor, a hunting family, or a close friend to teach them in today's day and age?
I would say, yeah, generally, yes. I would say, I think there's more availability than what we would have had to like learn,
Yeah.
but it is kind of like an overwhelming thing to get into. It's expensive to get into. And if you don't have like I at least had a dad who hunted, so I had that. He didn't archery hunt, but like I at least had like a foundation where I think somebody that doesn't have anybody, it can be maybe really overwhelming. But I do think it's interesting because we do have like YouTube that we really didn't have back then, or whatever, or post hunt clarity,
That's
like
right.
stuff resources, I think now versus back then. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that kind of put that, into perspective for myself. Like I can't see it any other way because I'm a fifth or sixth generation deer hunter. Like it came naturally
yeah,
and was gonna get handed down and I'm gonna try and do the same. But like some random person off the street that, has grown up in downtown Chicago or whatever, that's like, I don't
yeah.
think they ever just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what, I want a deer hunt. Like I've just how
Mm,
and if they do, it's where do you even start, right?
Yeah. It's
yeah,
overwhelming. There's so much information you have to take in.
right. And that's kind of how I felt like taking that lady hunting was like, she's like, can you give me tips? And I'm like standing in the trade show, like, not really. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
sure, I could like tell you a thing or two, but that's not gonna teach you how to turkey hunt. So like, come with me, because I can
Yeah.
understand how difficult that would be just wanting to do it, but not understanding how to do it. And if you don't have any resources, it's got to be tough.
Yeah. Well, it's like somebody coming up to you and being like, "Hey, can you teach me how to drive a car?" As we just stand here and talk. And it's like,
Exactly.
I don't know, you just put it in drive and press the gas pedal. Like
Exactly.
it becomes second nature to us at some point, but to somebody who's never done it, it's like, "Oh, I don't even know how to turn the car on." Like
Right.
where do I
Yeah.
get a
Right.
car?
Yep.
So yeah. So I guess I'm
Yeah, that's
curious,
a good way to put it.
Kaitlyn, maybe this isn't the direction we want the podcast to go, and you probably get asked this type of shit all the time, but I'm gonna ask anyways. How did it progress from like, you started your hunting career, you got a crossbow, you got into archery hunting. When did you start to like document your hunts? When did you, start to gain some traction with that? And when did you kind of decide like this is what I want to do for a career?
Yeah. Well, my dad, growing up, I've always like loved being creative. And so like photography was always like something I really enjoyed. And my dad had this big old school video camera that he would film like our Christmas like gifts that we would open every year or like birthday parties. Like there was always a camera around, like we would film. And I think just growing up, like he just brought the camera sometimes when we would go hunting and it just to have for memories and stuff. And so I don't know, I've kind of always just been around it and I've loved it. And then for one Christmas I got my own camera and so I used to take it to school and like take pictures with my friends and like I just have always loved the idea of like photos and video. And then when I moved, I went to school in Missouri, so I didn't have family or anybody out there. I didn't know anybody. And I just decided, like, well, I'm going to hunt anyway because I already like doing that. And so I might as well film what I can and then I can show my dad what I'm up to. And so that kind of was like a transition of like just doing it, but I never had any intention for it. Like it's just what I was doing. And I was like, well, the easiest thing for me to do is put it on YouTube. And so I did that, and then I guess probably my second video is when I shot a buck. I shot a doe, put that video out, and then I shot a buck on public land, and that one pretty much took off like overnight. I think it had like 200 or 300,000 views literally overnight, and I was like, whoa, like I didn't even know it. I had somebody say, hey, like love following your stuff, and I'm like, what? what stuff? Like, I don't have that much out there, you know?
2
And
videos.
so, yeah, literally second video ever. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, you know, your hunt, whatever. And so that was kind of like you know, and I'm in college and I never really knew what I wanted to do with my life. Like, you know, I have different interests, but as far as like a career, I don't know, I changed majors a few times. And so I was like, well, I already love to hunt. And if YouTube can eventually pay me, like I might as well at least take it a little bit serious. And then if it doesn't work out, whatever, I can go figure something else out. So I just kind of kept the momentum going and here we are, you know, how many years later, but it worked out and I'm fortunate in that sense, but that was just kind of like the moment that it sort of took off was like college and I love doing it. So why not, you know?
Yeah, that's sweet. Super cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy too when you think of like, you know, people that do YouTube and it supports a lot of like, you know, as Ben would say, you make it a career, right? Like, do you
Mhm.
think, you know, 25 years ahead down the road of like, you know, is like, are you still planning on doing YouTube or is it like, are you gonna eventually morph it into like a different type of business? Any thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
Great question. I I don't have an answer for you other than I would say there's probably like a 50-50 chance if YouTube is even around or at least allows hunting by then.
Yeah.
Because I know some friends in the industry that have had issues where videos get taken down, or like I've even had like if I have any sort of blood in my thumbnails, like they'll
Yeah.
flag my videos. And so like I am aware that it could go away tomorrow, like fully,
Mhm.
whether they delete my account or whatever. So I try to be cautious as far as like making my content as digestible as I can, I think for people. One, I think it's just a good look for hunting in general, but also like the platforms don't love us. Like, let's just be
Yeah.
honest. So I don't know. I would love to do something with it, but as far as like what, I'm still trying to like figure that out. So I'm sure I'll do something. I don't know. I always have
Yeah.
a million ideas. It's just a matter of what I want to
Yeah,
do.
which one you want to
So
go with? Yeah, that's where
right.
Ben and
Yeah.
I were at when we were talking about post on clarity in general, which the whole podcast itself just spawned from, you know, Ben one day it came to me and he's like, I got a bunch of ideas and like
Mhm.
hunting stuff I want to talk about, but I really don't have anybody other than you to talk to about it. So maybe
Mhm.
we just start something and, you know, it's just an after hours show and that's kind of what it started as, but that's, you know, maybe Ben can hit on this a little bit more. It's just morphed into so much more for us. It's like, you know, trying to think through the future and like, okay, like here's what exists in the industry. Like it's somewhat cliche to have just a podcast, right? Like there's more hunting content
Yeah.
now than when you started, right? I mean, the amount of content that's getting produced just by anybody and everybody is like it's probably not even tenfold. It's like, you know, 20 times more than what it was 8 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. One of my
Yeah.
most asked questions is like, what camera gear do I have? Because they want to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
And
actually
that's
crazy how many people want to film.
Yeah, that's why we started Post on Clarity is like Gabe and I got to be friends and I was watching, you know, he's got his YouTube channel too and I have zero
Sure.
technical skills when it comes to like I've never learned how to do photography, take video, edit video, any of that stuff. And I'm
Sure.
like I feel like I'm pretty like creative outside of that and I've got a lot of like Gabe said thoughts in my head and I'm like we should just start a podcast. At least it's somewhere for us to like have a creative outlet and now it's just you know, morphed into this winter. We had the idea of like, there's really nothing out there that teaches people to hunt, and let's roll with this thing. So,
Yeah,
Yeah. I think
at
it's a
least
great idea.
yeah,
start to finish, you know, one of the biggest things, which is kind of, you know, nice that we have a, you know, a well-known YouTuber on here to just pick your brain about is like Ben and I have had multiple conversations that like in my current like knowledge level of hunting, like if there's anything I feel like I don't know, like I would learn from watching somebody like you or the hunting public or, you know, groups of guys like that. But it's all very niche tactics of like, I'm in this state during this time period, what worked versus
Yep.
like, you know, a lot of these people and even TV shows are guilty of it now where like if you're a brand new hunter, maybe it's your first year or you haven't hunted before and you're like, okay, I want to, but I'm going to start watching TV shows or YouTube to learn how to hunt. And you turn on an episode of, you know, Joe Blows Outdoors and it's like, hey, you know, we're putting in the food plot today and, you know, then it fast forward and it's like, all right, we're hunting this giant deer we call Lefty and blah, blah, blah. And it just shows this deer walking out and shooting it. Like, that's cool. But I feel like people just really skip over the basics of like what your dad would teach you or what your grandpa would teach you. And that's kind of our motto with, at least the first course that Ben and I built with Post Hunt Clarity is like, we are trying to teach people the basics that a lot of people skip over, right? We had talked again, somebody in Chicago says, hey, I want to learn how to deer hunt. And they watch a video and it's like, okay, hey, we're going to go hunt over some scrapes. We got to look for rubs and figure out where the runways are. And they're like, what's a rub? What's a scrape? What's a runway look like? Like things that you and I would be like, well, everybody knows that, but it's totally not the case when you look at the bigger market.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So I'm kind of curious, Kaitlyn, like Gabe and I have talked a lot. Obviously he's in the hunting industry. You're in the hunting industry. I'm not an industry guy before this. Like I sell software for a living. Like hunting is, I've kind of always had that separation of church and state where it's like my hobbies are my hobbies. My job is my job. And I think there's this misconception in the hunting industry that people think that like you just show up and hunt somewhere and you get paid for it. And like, obviously we know it's very much not that. There's a business behind it and you have to be thinking ahead. But I also think people think like, oh, this is great. She just gets to hunt all the time. Like, I'm curious, and maybe you don't like being asked this, but like how much during a season are you like, I do not want to get out of bed this morning. I do not want to go hunt, and bringing a camera with me is the last thing I want to do.
Well, I'd say once November hits, I'm like shot.
Yeah.
Because I typically start hunting like beginning of September, sometimes even August if I go out west. But I mean, don't get me wrong, this is like that's definitely like I get that a lot. Like everyone's like, "Oh, must be nice." And I'm like, "Yes, it is nice." And I will never, like take it for granted, but there are times like this deer behind me, I hunted from opening day until the last day of season and I got him the last day. I didn't take a single day off other than maybe like 1 or 2 rain days where it was just like miserable weather. And by the end of it, I like bawled my eyes out for 30 minutes when I actually got him because I couldn't believe it. And I was so exhausted. Like mentally, I was so delirious driving in the morning. Like it was almost bad. I'm like, I almost need a break just to like get some sleep because I'm so passionate about it. And I just like, I want to make it happen. And I want to make videos, not for the sake of making videos, but just because like, I want to show like there's just so much more to it than just shooting something, So yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where I'm like, my alarm goes off and I just don't want to do it. But I feel like that's with any job. Like you're just going to have days where you're just like not in it 100%. But I think that's where the passion comes in. It's like, I really, at the end of the day, will always choose to do this, whether it's a job or not. And I love it. So that kind of like keeps me going,
Yeah, and that's just the misconception too with just your general public, right? Like they don't look at it as, that's your job, right? Like you have, you have to produce content to keep paychecks coming in and you have partners and all this other jazz to like, make people happy. And like there's so much stuff behind the industry that nobody just ever talks about. And I play both sides of the fence with just what I do for my career, where on one hand I'm doing a podcast, trying to grow, a startup business on this side. And then on the other side, I'm handling partner relations and all this other stuff. And, people just
dealing with me.
Yeah, that's, you're I'm not saying that as a bad thing at all. Like I love doing it. And it was one of those things like, why did I choose the route I went? Because when I was 18 years old, I was like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to do this stuff. And, it didn't quite mesh the way that I could have hoped it was. So I'm like, okay, what's the next best route, right? Like, let's get a professional career in the industry. And it just so happened that if you have a marketing degree and, you give a good job interview, even if you don't know what the hell you're doing, they give you a shot. And from there, it just stems out.
Another thing like that people, and this is on me. I really wish back in the beginning I would have filmed like more just in general, because what people don't know is like I was a broke college kid. I used to, just to make this work, I bartended. So I would bartend on the weekends and I'd make barely any money because college kids don't want to tip, but that's another thing. And so I'd work on the weekends, and then during the week I'd schedule my classes for midday so that way I could go hunting in the morning, and then I'd come back to school, have class for like 2-3 hours, whatever it was. Then I'd go back out for the evening, and I would do that every single day truthfully, I don't know how I got any sleep because I just constantly on the go. Like I would literally work, say, let's just say Sunday night till 3 a.m. and then I'd go straight out and go hunting. So like I didn't get any sleep. I barely had any money. I like any money I did have, I put it towards hunting and like camera equipment or whatever. And I used to have to sign out a camera from the college from my friend who was in the arts department because I couldn't sign it out because I wasn't an arts major. And so like it was this whole thing. At one point I was basically homeless, like living in my car. Like there's just a lot more that like I made a lot of sacrifices in the beginning that nobody really understands. So like when they say, "Oh, it must be nice," I'm like, yes, it is, but I worked really hard and I made a lot of sacrifices personally to be able to do this and try to keep it going, you know? So yeah, it is nice, but there's more to it than just getting to go hunting every day, you know?
Yeah. Well, and people are just jealous and most people don't understand the grind that goes into being successful at anything, whether it's hunting, a
Anything,
sport,
anything.
like anything, and so I'm sure, as you continue to grow, you'll probably get more and more of that, unfortunately. So,
yeah, it's just part of it. And I understand, like no one else understands the ins and outs of it, but like I always tell people, I'm like, at least you get to clock out at the end of the day. I don't get to clock out. Like if I want to make money, I gotta grind it out and go. And, I don't get to sleep
I'm gonna
in
be
all
in your
night.
comments from now on. Must be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Go
just be
ahead.
in
I'll
there
like it.
on every post.
Well, and then too,
Oh,
when you make this, sort of lifestyle your career too, there's no, and I talk about this with Ellie a lot, is like there's a little bit different. Like if you have a corporate job, like you clock in and usually you can clock out, and for the rest of the evening or the morning, like
forget
it's
about it.
yours. You can do whatever you
Yeah.
want. You don't have to worry about work until tomorrow. That doesn't
Mhm.
happen when you do what we do. Like there's, you know, a day job, but then there's also people that are, calling you at 9 o'clock at night, or you got to drive somewhere. It's just like it never ends.
Yeah.
Or you're editing videos because you hunted all day, or you just got done with the hunt. Now it's like, okay, cool. If I'm going to bring this to fruition and get paid, like I have to perform and do this. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like for me, like come January, I can shut hunting off. Like I don't really think about it till March again, or April.
Mhm.
Like, and then by that point, like I'm fired up about it again. For you, it's like, well, the season just finished. I'd really love to quit thinking about it for 3 weeks, I'm sure. But you gotta keep putting content out and making videos and
Yeah.
doing stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a never ending thing. Even if the season's out, you're still like thinking about, okay, what's next, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
So
So I'm curious, kind of tying this back to like your progression, like what is one thing that you learned where you kind of started to feel like, okay, I went from like struggling a little bit to like, I'm figuring this out. Like maybe it's a topic, maybe it's just like a moment you realized, like, I don't, is that making sense? I guess what I'm trying to ask.
as far as like hunting or like the channel or like
Sorry, yes, just hunting
the
in
channel.
general. Like I think of like for me, I kind of had a period where I was young. I killed a couple of 2.5-year-olds, then I killed my first 3.5-year-old. Then all of a sudden one year, like I kind of felt like I figured it out, and then I had a lot of big mature deer in front of me consistently. Like, was there a moment like that for you, or anything specific you
where it
learned?
felt like you turned the page.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah. Yes. I would say, and I will say I may be a little spoiled in this sense, but like when I moved to Iowa and got a lease, that was the first time that I was able to actually hunt mature deer, and not only just hunt mature deer, but hunt deer like I'll just say naturally, like low pressure. Like I could plant food plots, but I didn't know how to do any of that because I always hunted public my whole life. So like all of that was new. So I really just went in and like just hunted. And so I got to sit back and kind of just watch deer be deer and do what they want to be doing. And this kind of goes back into like reading body language and like little things that like detailed things that when you're hunting pressured public land deer in rifle season, like none of that really matters because it just doesn't apply. So moving to Iowa, I really got to just watch deer be deer, and I hunted a buck, Swoops, if you guys know the deer.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, that deer I hunted specific. That was the first deer I ever specifically targeted, and then ended up killing him. And just like learning that individual deer just taught me so much about just deer behavior. And now that's like something that I can even apply on public lands, or like if I go out of state and hunt elsewhere, like just knowing how deer want to react to certain things, like I'm able to use that elsewhere. So I think that year was 2022, and that was pretty much like the really big like turning point, I guess, kind of year for me. So yeah, he taught me a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's one thing I've never really done is target a buck. Like, I don't know, maybe that makes me sound like I'm not out to kill the biggest deer or whatever, but I've never just had like a crazy amount of history with the deer where I'm like, that's the deer I'm killing this year and I'm not willing to kill
Sure.
anything else, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think this year I'm gonna kind of dial it back because I only targeted this guy last year, and I was going crazy by the end. I'm like,
I
why
was
did I
gonna
do
say,
this? Like,
does that
I'm passing deer that I should not be passing. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I learned a lot, which is it's like a bittersweet thing. It's like you might not get him if you're just gonna focus on one deer. You might not get him, and
yeah.
you're gonna have to be okay with that decision. And at the end, I was okay with it, but while I was like having other mature bucks in front of me, I'm like really questioning it. But again, I learned a lot, which to me, like I always try to make it about like a learning experience versus just shooting something. Like that's just how I like to operate. So I was okay with the decision, but I think this year I'm gonna like dial it back a little, and just any mature buck is gonna be good for me. So
Sure. Well, I got a thought going through my head right now of kind of where I actually want to take this podcast from here. And that's, I think Ben and I share this opinion. Ben, you could totally tell me if I'm wrong, but like in the last decade, right? I started consuming YouTube videos when I was probably 16, 17, I would say is when I started. Ben's probably the same. And we started
yeah,
watching a bunch of, whether it was TV shows or YouTubers, as I would say they were on the climb up to, they weren't so popular. Now a lot of them are like very popular. And their
yeah,
content started out where they were, whether it was hunting public or private, but they were just killing deer and they were trying to kill a nice deer. They weren't necessarily killing booners. And it
hmm
seems in the industry, right, as you start to grow, like, the goal, and I get it, right? Like I want to kill giant deer, but a lot of the contents turn into, hey, we got our own place. Like it's a beautiful piece. Nobody else touches it. Like we're able to grow
yep.
giant deer. We're able to hunt giant deer. Do you feel like that's like, will there ever be a time for you where you feel like that's the route you want to go, or are you thinking like at some point maybe you'll have like a, I guess I don't know, maybe like you pick a state, right? Let's say you want to challenge yourself and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to upstate New York, Vermont, Maine, and I'm just going to go somewhere and hunt. And I'm just going to
hmm
try and get in front of the biggest deer, right? Like if you were to shoot 120-inch deer in upstate New York, would you be as excited about that as maybe a 160-inch deer in Iowa?
100%. I feel like maybe the last few years, well, last year I really didn't hunt anywhere else because I was after him, but I feel like maybe the last few years I kind of strayed away from that, and I like told myself this year like I'm gonna try to get back into that, and even if it's like one new state a year, like just go hunt public, figure it out. I mean, the reality is like when I go out of state, I don't have high expectations. Like I will hunt a respectable deer for that area and I'm just as happy. I mean, like that's always kind of my mentality. It's never been about the score for me. Iowa, I'm picky just because like why not? But
Yeah,
elsewhere, like, I might only have a week to be there. I'm not gonna hold out for a booner every time. It's just not realistic and it's not relatable. I mean, like most people would rather see me shoot like a 130 on public versus like something like this because that's
sure.
just
Yeah.
not attainable for most people. And
Do you
that I would say even it reflects in my views and like engagement. Like people big deer are cool. Like everybody thinks big deer are cool, but at the end of the day like it's just not as it's just not relatable, I guess. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you answered my next question because I was going to ask you because I've heard it just from a lot of people, especially because I go to a bunch of consumer shows, and you go to
mhm,
consumer shows as well. But in conversations, it's like, the hunting content in today's day and age of everybody just trying to harvest 180-inch deer, like it almost becomes unrelatable for like 75% of hunters out there. Just because I wish I knew the statistic on this. I think Ben and I chatted about this once before, but it's like a very small percentage of people will ever shoot a deer that's over 130 inches, like a true 130-inch deer.
yeah, I think it's like 20% or 25% of maybe
Yeah.
bow hunters, but still. It's a really low number.
Yeah. But yeah, Gabe, we do share that same opinion. Like, back to your point, Kaitlyn, like, it's cool down here. Like, we've got this lease this year. I don't want to shoot anything there that's under 150 inches, let's say. You know, we're still getting pictures. It's our first year. I'm figuring exactly what that is out, but let's say 150 inches. But like, when I go back home to Northwest Wisconsin, which is probably very similar to where you grew up in Pennsylvania from a hunting standpoint, and I go gun hunt up there, like, I'm going to kill the first 2.5-year-old I see, and I'm going to get hammered. I'm going to be so excited. Like, you know, like, it's just like they celebrate you up there for that, because there's just not deer of that caliber around very often. You know, it's just, it's to me all relative to where I'm hunting.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. Like, when I go out of state, I mean, I try to like learn the area enough to know, okay, like a 120 is a good deer, or, you know, like maybe, you know, aim for that, or, you know, whatever. But like, Iowa's just unique in the sense of like the ability to see a big deer is pretty high. And so I am picky here, but like when I go out of state, like it really is not about the score to me. Like, if it's a big deer, great, but like I'm not gonna pass a deer that's like a respectable buck, you know?
Yeah.
I want to fill tags, you know? Like, I'm just there to have fun.
Yep, for sure.
So, yeah.
So what is your biggest, and maybe it's on film too, but what is your biggest, I can't believe this just happened, hunting story?
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't have to be like a harvest moment either. It could be something just crazy that happened.
That's a great question. My mind's going blank now. I don't know, really. I don't think I have any like insane, like crazy stories.
Like, nothing that went terribly wrong.
I don't know. I feel like most of my hunts they're also like if you watch enough of my videos, you're gonna be like, she says this every time, and I say, I can't believe that just happened. Like, I say it almost every time because I'm always like, every hunt's so different.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I have like one that like really sticks out. I think Swoops, like getting him was probably my biggest like, holy cow, like, did I seriously just do that? You know, like, when I found him, I just cried because I couldn't believe it. I don't know. I don't really have anything crazy. I don't know.
Huh. That's funny. I feel like if you sit down and think about it, you've got to, like, I feel like every hunter's got stuff that it's like, if I didn't have this on camera, or like if nobody was here with me, nobody would ever believe this. Like,
yeah.
What's yours, Ben?
I mean, my first buck was pretty like, you had to be there. This is pretty crazy. We were in Kansas. I grew up going on a Kansas rut trip every year. Like, the entire time I was in high school, we went. And I had some experiences when I was young where I missed a lot. I got target panic really bad. And we were kind of the same, where it's like, if it's not 8 points or outside the ears, don't kill it. Like, I remember being, 12 years old, and I had a spike buck in front of me, and I'm texting my dad. I'm like, can I shoot it? Like, I don't know. It's pretty. I'm like, it's pretty nice. And he's like, do not kill that deer. And so it took me till I was 16 to kill my first buck. It was our last morning there, and I was hunting over this winter wheat field, and next to it, there was a CRP field. And there was this buck pushing 2 does around all morning, and he bedded up with them. And it's like, we literally were going to hunt that morning, had the truck packed, and we're getting in the car and driving 12 hours home. And my uncle was across the field from me. And I've said this on every podcast we've been on lately, but like, my uncle is who I learned like the most about hunting from. And he has killed a lot of big deer and really knows what he's doing. And so he's like, Benjamin, we're going to go kill that deer. Like, just trust me. Grabs a decoy out of the truck, throws it on his shoulder. He's got his grunt tube. He's like grunting every step, bleeding, snort wheezing. Like, literally, it's so loud as we're walking through that stuff that like he had to. So every step we take, he's making some sort of call. And this buck's like locked down with these 2 does at this point. Which, I mean, if you know anything, like, you're never going to get a lockdown buck off a doe. And we get to like 45 yards, and he stands up, and we're like, we blew it. It's done. Like, and he starts friggin' walking towards us. We're like, no way. And, he's got this decoy on his shoulders. This decoy is probably 8.5 feet tall at this point. And so my uncle's like, okay, he's 42 yards. And I'm like, I need 40. He's like, all right. So we, stand there. The deer comes a little closer. It's 37. So I draw and lean out from behind the decoy, and I shoot him. And he runs off and falls over, starts doing the kick of death and everything. We celebrate. And Adam's like, hang on, I see steam coming up. Like, he's still breathing. And so we get to like 20 yards, just to where we can see over the grass. And he jumps up and bolts like 300 yards across the field. It's like, how do you blood trail him now? You're in a CRP field, you know? And
Yeah.
so we gave it an hour, we grid searched, and my dad and I were walking through the field, and he's like, Benjamin, I think I found where he laid down. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, right here. And I walk over there and the deer's laying right there. And so my dad's the same way. Like, he always likes to screw around about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, again, that story doesn't do it justice. You know, it's one of those you had to be there. But I feel like I've got some crazy ones. I've had a buck nut on my decoy, and like I've had some.
What?
Oh yeah, yeah. We
I didn't hear about this one.
Same stand that I was in the morning I killed that deer. Same trip, but earlier on in the trip, this little 1.5-year-old 6-pointer comes up and mounts the decoy, and I get down to lay the decoy down at the end, and there's just a big white gooey wad on the back of it. Like, just crazy stuff like that. Like,
or you shoot a mule deer at 91 yards with a bow, walk up to it
too,
because it's in full velvet in October and it doesn't have a wiener or nutsack.
Yeah.
It's a doe with antlers.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that video, Kaitlyn? I don't know if you watch Gabe's channel at all, but that was
I have seen that one. That's insane.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. But
that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like now I'm kind of running out of stories, but I feel like if I racked my brain, I'd have a lot more.
Yeah, that was partial reason for the podcast too, because like he's got crazy stories. Just weird shit happens to me. I'm just always either in the right place at the wrong time or the right place at the right time, type of deal. So
yeah,
I'm surprised that there's nothing else to that. You haven't had anything crazy like that.
I don't know. Maybe if I think long enough. I think I just spend so much time in the woods. It all kind of blends together, and like everything. I don't know. I think everything just. I don't know. I'm always just trying to like learn stuff. That's kind of just my mentality about it. So like the littlest things are really cool to me. But
do you feel like
crazy wild stories? I don't know.
Do you feel like at this point, Kaitlyn, you learn more from your successes or your failures when it comes to the woods?
I mean, I would say both, but truthfully, I would say in the beginning, I learned more from my failures because everything was new. But now it's like, when you do something so many times, you learn, okay, like maybe let's not do that anymore, or, try something different. And so I think now finding what does work is like really reassuring to me. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe now it's kind of like a little bit of a switch for me. Like when something goes right, it's like, aha, got it. Like it makes sense now,
Yep.
Here's a good one for you. Do you feel like you still try new things when it comes to deer hunting? You found, quite a bit of success, I feel like, in the last 6 or 7 years of, consistently harvesting deer. And you found what works. Do you ever just like one day be like, I'm going to go completely out of pocket and do something I'd never do?
Yes. Especially if it's like, I just can't seem to make anything work. So like I hunted with a decoy for the first time ever this year, with deer. So like that was new. I always wanted to try it, but I just was always like afraid. Like I didn't want to scare deer, but I was like, well.
Did you find it off the highway and Highway 35?
No. Why? Did you?
No,
I lost one there one year going through Iowa on the way to Kansas. It fell off the trailer, and So if you find one somewhere in Iowa, let me know.
Okay. I don't think I've seen one. No, but it was just a doe. And I had like one really good encounter, and then one little like fork buck was like kind of scared of it, but like very intrigued by it. But he didn't like it enough to come in, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I think it was just the timing was off, but that was probably like the one thing. I think for me, like I'm always trying new things when I go to different states because like just like the topography is different everywhere, and so like what works in Kansas is not going to work in like Pennsylvania, So like I think that's the biggest like change that I would focus on is like where am I and like what works for that area, like big hardwoods versus like fingers in a CRP field. You're just gonna hunt it differently. So
yeah.
All right, Gabe, should we get into a rapid fire round here? Yeah, we should do a rapid fire round. This is the part of the show where Ben and I fire off random questions where you basically just need to answer in a few words or like a sentence or so, if that makes sense.
Unless it's like oh, this sparks a really good story, or whatever.
Yeah.
But Gabe, you want to start or you want me to?
I'm going to let you start.
All right, Kaitlyn. Bow or gun?
Bow.
Okay. Public land or private land harvest?
Public.
Okay. Best hunting snack?
Squeezy applesauce.
Nice. That's a good one. Favorite state to hunt?
No. I'll say Iowa.
Okay. Other than Iowa, because it's your home state. I'm curious that answer too.
Kansas.
Okay. One piece of gear you can't live without that's not something like essential. So can't say like your bow or a tree stand or, something like that.
My little wind checker.
Nice.
It's like a little golf ball looking thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Gabe, what do you got?
Morning hunt or evening hunt? I know it depends on the time of year, but morning hunt or evening hunt?
I'll say evening, even though I love morning hunts, but evening, probably.
Early season or rut hunting?
Early season.
Okay.
Really? That's surprising.
I hate the rut.
Okay, because I share the same opinion. Ben's like, it's the Super Bowl of deer hunting. I'm like, I've killed 90% of my deer before the 15th of October. So
I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just not good at hunting and I need the rut, but I love the rut.
Yep.
Scent control. Is it important or overrated? As in using products?
I'm 50-50 on that one. I think it helps, and even if it gives you an extra 2 seconds to draw back and shoot a deer, I think that is always a good thing, but I do think in general it's overrated.
Okay.
Hunt the wind.
What's one piece of gear that you think hunters just piss money away on and waste it?
I would say this is not a good rapid fire question. I don't know.
I'm
I didn't
sorry.
think about it. I think in general, a lot of gear, everybody thinks they need the most expensive thing, but you don't always whether it's a bow sight or a release, some things they're just more money,
Yeah,
you can
sure.
still get a good mid-quality thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to probably just random gear like that in general. Say.
Gabe, do you have more, or otherwise I've got another one that I'm curious.
I was gonna do one more.
Go for
it. What is your biggest hunting pet peeve?
Oh, that's a good question.
For what other people do, or in the woods?
Yeah, what other people do? Sure, something people do that you're just like, oh my gosh, makes you want to rip your hair out.
Probably the crazy I smoked him, and they just have these obnoxious reactions that I'm like,
is he down?
Is he down?
Yeah. Is he down, Hunter?
That's funny.
Yeah. Which I'm a little guilty of it too, so I can't say too much. But some people, it's all right, calm down, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing to celebrate, but it's another to be obnoxious about it. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious what you listen to on the way out to the woods.
Everything. Everything. So it's funny, actually, you asked that. This turkey season, I played 3 songs in a row, and they had to be those songs in a row, and I would shoot a bird every time. If I didn't listen to them, or if I listened to them out of order, I would not shoot anything that day. And it was Don Tolliver, E85, Don't Kill the Party, Ty Dolla $ign, I think, and then what was the 4th one? I Get the Bag from Migo.
Nice.
But I listen to all kinds of music. Just depends on the day. So
yeah.
But that was my kill list for turkey season. So
that's a good kill list. I feel like I have kill songs too, where it's I
need
know.
Something that pumps me up,
Yeah.
I got 2. It's Deer Hunter's National Anthem or 100 Shots by Young Dolph.
There you go.
Mine is anything by Breaking Benjamin.
Okay.
I'm a big metal fan, so
yeah.
Anything by Breaking Benjamin or Clincher by Chevelle. I get hyped up driving to the woods listening to that.
Yeah. Just anything high energy, I'm all about it. So.
Yep. Especially at 4 a.m, energy drink in hand on the way to the woods.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got one last one, unless you have a couple more, Ben.
I could probably come up with some.
So let's say you successfully harvest a deer. What's your first drink of choice to celebrate?
Oh, good question.
I usually take a shot. Anytime I shoot something, I take a shot of whiskey.
Have you ever had
whiskey?
Crown.
Nice.
Have you ever had Malort?
Oh, no. Yes, but no. No, thank you.
You were just in Chicago. You're telling me you didn't drink
No,
Malort while you were there?
Every bar had it, and I can't.
So you didn't try it. You just
I've had it a long time ago. It's disgusting. I don't
So
need it again.
if we're talking about, we were talking a minute ago about like, do you ever try things that are just completely, not in the usual? If you're ever like, this season just isn't going well, I need to switch things up, take a shot of Malort. That will be the best luck you ever give yourself in your entire life. I'm telling you.
Okay.
This podcast needs to be sponsored by Malort. Yeah, that's funny.
We talked about that on one of the other podcasts. I think that's what Ben said his hunting tradition is that if he wants to kill something, he's got to take a shot of Malort like the night before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings me to a good question though. This doesn't have to be rapid fire. Are you superstitious? And if so, what are some of your hunting superstitions?
Not really. Well, like I'll say like maybe this much, and that's only like if I feel like something's working, like my 3 songs that I had to listen to, like I'll do that until it doesn't work. And then I'm like, okay, it really maybe it was just in my head. But like overall, no. But if there's like a hoodie that I kill in and I go to another state, I'm like, I'm wearing the hoodie, Like I gotta keep the momentum going. So maybe like little things like that.
Yep. I've got a devoted pair of killing pants. That's anytime I need to kill something, those pants come out.
Yep.
But this has been the rapid fire round, sponsored by Malort.
Sponsored by Jepson Malort.
Jepson's Malort. Well, before we wrap this up, anything else that you want people to know about Kaitlyn Maus? Anything we didn't ask that you want us to ask? Gabe, you got anything?
No, I don't know.
No, I feel like I know Kaitlyn fairly well on and off the field. I'm really glad she was willing to come out and talk a little bit of deer hunting with us, and we could fill her in a little bit on what we have to offer coming down the pipe here with Post Hunt Clarity. Guys, the membership is going to be live August 1st. So we do have a waiting list right now on the website. You guys are going to be seeing this podcast about a week before we launch, but just make sure if you've contemplated hunting, or maybe you've even hunted for 20 years and you feel like you're not successful, like check out the membership. There's a lot of education in there. There's 8 hours worth of stuff. There is discounts to over 18 brands in the industry that give you really good discounts. It's not just the go sign up on the website offer. It's unique to members. So save on that, help you acquire gear and save some money. And then there's a bunch of other resources that go along with that. So make sure you guys check that out.
Yeah.
Other than that,
if you haven't checked out Kaitlyn already, go check out her YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. She's got some sweet kills on there. So again,
I think
Kaitlyn,
her TikTok's the best.
Yeah, your TikToks pop up.
TikTok's the best. Yep.
I like what you did with the archery shop. I was keeping up with that.
Of course, it's my like most viral recent video. I'm like, okay.
I don't know if I even saw that one.
Funny.
So I'll go watch it after this.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
the
Kaitlyn,
thing about
thanks
TikTok
again.
is like,
no, she's not
sorry.
done.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to post on TikTok more, but they are just so like anti everything. So I'm like, I honestly might as well just go on and like do rants, because that's what people want to see anyways. You're just blabbing on about stuff. So I don't know. I gotta like mess around with it. But.
Yeah. You got to have the most random stuff on there to go viral.
If you want drama, go to TikTok. If you want to actually learn something, go on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, Kaitlyn, thank you again. It was a blast having you. And to all our listeners, don't wait on Post Hunt Clarity. Go join that wait list and stay tuned for August 1st.
Oh, and there also might be a giveaway coming as well. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that. We'll announce details on that. But if you hear this podcast, you'll be the first to know that it's coming up. So stay tuned.
Cool. That's exciting.
See you guys in the next one.